Stories tell of a golden age long ago, when our civilization spanned the system. It was a bright and hopeful time, but it didn't last.
There's something amazing about being able to have an idea in your head and to be able to have that eventually end up in front of millions of people, to have an idea for a space or an idea for what a weapon could look like or a character, and then be able to work with a team and create that, look at it in 3 dimensions, to be able to run around it, you know, even in a development environment, and then have it be part of a bigger world. I think being able to just in a sketchbook or, you know, doodle down, hey, this is what it could be like on Venus. You know, this is there's this academy, maybe there's this Vex temple, and then being able to myself jump into a game and run around it in 3D, I think that's the best part. That's the payoff.
You know, I mean, I think when we were exploring the ideas of fantasy and sci-fi, you know, I think we try to push the realm of how much fantasy do we bring in and how much sci-fi do we bring in, and that's just sort of the development process of pre-production, of just trying to figure out what we can and can't do.
There were a lot of ideas originally when Destiny was first, in its concept days, that we thought about doing or wanted to do, and you know, we really wanted to flesh out the possibility of where we could go, what made sense in the universe, what might Europa look like, what might Mercury look like, and we've, you know, with each release we've gotten a chance to kind of begin to go to some of those places. So we may go to Old Chicago in the future, we may go to Europa. Speaking of frogs and space tigers, the frog was really when we were looking at Destiny being more of a fantasy game, and so that's why you'll see like wizards and you know, frogs and stuff like that. But that was some of the core influence of how some of the original, you know, early fantasy ideas kind of made their way into Destiny. When we were just looking at fantasy as a genre or just sci-fi, there came a point when we were looking at sci-fi for a while where we were like, well, there's some amazing stuff in fantasy. Like, why can't we do both? Fantasy has this amazing property of legends and heroes and swords and weapons with these incredible names, and just bringing some of that feel into a sci-fi universe was you know, a big moment for us. Like, hey, you know, we can name a gun and give it a name that sounds just as cool as a sword in mythology. We can make a legend or a hero that existed long ago that did something great and build that into a sci-fi universe, I think. So yeah, that was the sort of genesis of those two coming together. The Space Tiger specifically, that was really about, you know, that image that has the first Space Tiger was our first postcard, which we like to call, which was the postcard for all of Destiny. It was like, how can we sum up what we want Destiny to be in one single painting? And so you have Guardians who have just landed on this landscape, and you don't even see what they're looking at, but you see that they're landing and they're looking off into the distance, like this feeling of some great adventure they're about to have. They're looking through binoculars. You know, there's a guy in the back who's just unloading a spaceship, so you have the feeling of a personal ship. And then the tiger was really about, we wanted to make a world where a tiger or a pet could exist, like a sci-fi universe where you could have a sidekick. You know, ultimately, that kind of turned into the Ghost, I think, as sort of a sidekick or someone that you could bring along. But it's not that crazy to think of Destiny having a pet, right? To have a space tiger in your spaceship would totally work. So that was really about finding the right tone, and that really made sense in the Destiny world.
The lowest moment, definitely. I mean, I think everybody have seen that right after the game came out, and then the score came out. You know, the sort of like Metacritic score of 70 something, I forget. And I think you can just kind of feel a sort of like sadness in the studio because everyone is reading the reviews and hearing what the media is saying. But some of that was hard. I mean, I think a lot of people were like, you know, we put a lot of work into it, and now the media and all the critics are saying it's not as good as it's meant to be.
It's an adventure, you know. Every release has its high points. Every release has its low points. You know, I think with everything, anytime you're creating, whether it's a game or a movie or a book, there's moments where you question, is this going to turn out right? Is everyone going to love it?
Honestly, we never think Destiny is done. So it's an evolving game, and we know there's a lot of things that can be tweaked and things to be added and changed, and we want to continue to do that. And I'm very passionate about trying to bring that forward and bring it into the game.
We built this, I think, a really great world. We built this expansive world that was beautiful, full of mysteries and questions and possibilities. And I think, I think the original campaign, I think, could have drawn players on a little bit more. I think that Destiny really was this new type of game, which is about playing with your friends, playing with, exploring, this sort of end game, right? Which I think a lot of players, ended up really enjoying about Destiny. And I think the transition from the campaign to the end game in the original Destiny was not as smooth as it could be. So a lot of people just didn't get to see what was really special about Destiny. They played through just the single player portion and didn't really get a chance to play the strikes or play raids or explore the different destinations. And so I think we've made progress, as we've come out with each release on making some of that stuff better.
I would say the proudest moment is not one moment, but is the fact that we continue to try and update and make the game better. And where we're standing right now, I can't be prouder of what Destiny is, because constantly before the game shipped, all these previews and everyone's like, oh, it's like MMO, it's like, WoW plus Halo or something like that. But now I firmly believe we carved a space in the game genre where everyone's, oh, it's Destiny.